Hello, this is Gene. I want to talk a little bit about the wiretapping or alleged wiretapping that the president probably suffered while he was before he was elected, or maybe right after the election. I've been trying to get some information on this to provide my commentary on it. However, there is something going on here, and I have experience dealing with intel communities. What I see, the reports that was done even before the election, that there was clearly some sort of surveillance was going on. Maybe it was just on the Russian ambassador, but once people in the Trump administration or part of his team who may have talked to the ambassador was getting the same type of information. So there's clearly something going on here, and what kind of disturbs me is that the left is losing the plot, I guess, on it as well. They just want to say it's the Russians, and now they don't want to say that it really happened. They're on both sides of the fence on this. The guys that used to be a champion of, I guess, the Fourth Amendment, talking about searches and seizures, like Keith Olbermann. I remember him back during the Obama administration when they found out that people were surveilling stuff, and he went on a diatribe about it. He's nowhere to be seen right now. He thinks that Trump is in cahoot with the Russians. And my question is, so, to be honest, I look at the larger picture. Is Russia trying to take, let's say that there is some sort of a foot here, that they want to defeat us in some way, that they want to take other countries some way. Do you think they want the problems that we have, especially in diversity and having to deal with our populace, and try to control them? I don't think they really do. Does both countries try to affect the other people geopolitically? Of course they do. But all the reports that I've seen have said that there is no link between the Russians. There may be some links to the Russians hacking the DNC, but what the left is trying to say is that somehow that is them colluding with the Trump people, and that we have to keep looking at that. And there's something there that, there's some smoke there where we're talking about. So we have to keep looking at it. And it's not the idea that we think that this government would not do what they just did, and when several newspaper outlets, leftist newspaper outlets, reported before the election, before the inauguration, that it was going on, that there was wiretapping. Now, their excuses right now is that, okay, we were probably wiretapping the Russian ambassador, because we all do that. I mean, it's like everybody knows this is what we do, right? So that's fine, and for most people in the country, they're okay with that. But if you're doing that, and at the same time the person's having a conversation with an American citizen, now what do you do then? And we're being told, and we're supposed to trust. Now this is crazy because it's coming from the left side. The left is somehow defending the government and the intel community here. So there's all these protocols are put in place so it doesn't do anything to the American citizen. And there is, and they won't tell you what those are. But if something happens during that conversation that looks that, or maybe, or could possibly be a felony or something like that, then all that protocol goes out the window, and they will collect that information and use it for whatever reasons they want to do it. Now, the New York Times article on the January 20th, on the day that Trump was actually sworn in, it was right next to his picture of him being sworn in, saying that they had this information, and there was a tie between the Russians and Trump, and that all these agencies in the federal government were using this information, and at the end of it, they took a report and gave it to the White House. So when the president the former president Obama says that we got none of those informations from anybody because I quote unquote I cannot stay you to disobey somebody. I can't do that because I'm the president. I'm not allowed to do it. But somehow you got this report saying that, well, we were doing it. Now this is the New York Times, and some people on the left, some of the senators saying or representatives are saying, well, you just can't really always trust all the different newspaper sources. But on the other side, they will they'll show another report from another news agency saying, look, we have this information, so that must be true. There's something going on here. And I don't think it was just because Trump might have said something about the intel community. He wasn't talking about the collector at the lowest level. He wasn't talking about the guys out in the field that are doing things for the country. He was talking about the people that run it, that have political motivations, and they've been placed there by Democrat rule for a long time. So they're not really unbiased when it comes to that. And it happens on the other side. When the Republicans are in charge, they do the same thing. And it's weird, but sometimes, the left are all about supporting Snowden, and the right is against Snowden. And then you'll see people on the right now saying what Snowden said is true and all that shit. Of course, I think those who watch my channel know what I think about Snowden. He was a fucking traitor. And just because he exposed what we already knew, those who really know, that of course we surveil our own citizens, and for the most part, it doesn't come out to do anything to it. But what we get upset about, people that are constitutionalists, are people who are like Mark Levin, that talks about how this could be like a police state, that they can just claim that you're doing something like that, and you don't even know you're being. Right now, obviously, this is going to be on a public forum. But right now, somebody could be recording me and using it against me at some point. And that's part of the totalitarian, authoritarian state that the socialists want. And so it's kind of strange. It's this, the left is almost doing their projecting. They don't want to be like Russia, but they really are really like Russia. They think it's okay in a lot of ways to do what we're doing as long as those protections are there. And then I hear somebody saying, well, they're humans, so sometimes people make mistakes. It's a hard question. And when the framers did the Constitution, it is a hard question how you deal with the Fourth Amendment, the First Amendment, the Sixth Amendment. So it's hard to understand, and that's why I don't necessarily believe the Constitution is a it can be changed. I mean, it can not be reimagined, I think, but you have to look at where you are during right now. So I don't really have a problem with surveilling foreign powers. I did it kind of in a way when I was working. And then you have to trust humans to take that information and using it for what it's for. I don't like having Americans be looked at this way. But that runs into the whole thing about, should we be allowed to go in a mosque and surveil it because we think that there are people there that are tied to terrorism, and if these are American citizens, do we do it? Or like when Obama, this time actually authorized killing an American citizen overseas who was part of a terrorist person. 90% of the people in this country probably say that's probably a good thing to do. It's one of those things, though. And Ryan Paul talks about this. Once you start going down that way. What's next? And we're seeing it in the intel community, and it's not the guys who are actually collecting this information. I don't want to say they're following orders, but they're doing what they have to do, and the people in front of them, way at the top of that, are making these decisions based on politics. So when somebody comes on, and it could be either side, they always have a reason for what they're doing, and they don't think it's political in nature, but it is. Why did this come out? This was going on before the election, saying that the Russians were doing something to the election. And after the election, they kept saying the same thing. And all this same wiretapping that they done in Russia is related to Trump's as well, because they used, and this is what they'll do. And when the FISA court actually comes out, and I'll talk about FISA in a little bit, if it finally comes out, if they say we're going to do that for the sake of the country, we're going to bring out the actual warrants, for why they did these things, because still people on the left are saying they didn't really do anything. But there's several reports out there from the New York Times, the Washington Post, that talks that there was wiretapping that was going on. Now, either they were getting false information or whatever, but that means somebody in the intel community is linking false information and still linking information that could be used as a felony and could be used against somebody and put them in, destroy their reputation. So clearly something was going on after the Russians or whoever hacked the DNC, that the intel community started looking into something like that, and then the FISA court, they first asked for the authority to do this, and at first I guess they didn't do it, and then they came back and they scared it down. But Trump is involved; his surrogates were involved in this, and still today, Democrats are still saying we don't know if there is, and we're not sure that the Russians did it. But they still think there's some sort of collusion between the Russians and Trump or his surrogates or the people in his administrations. So when you continually say that, so when the president comes out and says what he said about Obama wiretapping him, maybe it's off base factually, but I think the proof is there that it happened. There are several FISA requests. There was an actual approval by a court. And then this is what the Democrats say, well, in order for that to happen, there has to be probable cause. But they don't realize that the FISA court, I think over the entire time, or the 20 or 30 or 40,000 times that they had a warrant for under FISA, that I think only 20% or 20 were ever disapproved. It's like trying to get a indictment, the whole thing that if they can get an indictment on a sandwich. I mean, it's that same type of thing when you get to the FISA court. If you can just frame your argument or why you want it, or if you get to the right judge who happens to be maybe politically left, oh yeah, we'll go ahead and do it, and we'll do it. Now, do I know that they actually wiretapped Trump Towers? You don't have to go in there and put it on the phone. You don't have that shit anymore. We have smartphones. And believe me, I know, I worked in this area. It's not hard to do it. Snowden talks about this. Nothing that I didn't know, but everybody thinks it's a fucking hero for saying it. But yeah, you can turn on your phone and you can be surveilled by anybody because all these phones are built by private corporations. They know how to go in and out of it. If you remember that whole thing with the Sandow band, the people out in California where they killed like 18 people, Apple didn't want them to go in and get this information off their phone because they thought it was privacy or whatever. And that's a constitutional argument, and I get that to a point. I think that maybe in that case that Apple should have allowed them to do it. But they found somebody to figure a way in anyway. So it's not like we don't have people in the government that can go in and just do stuff. And then you can take, whenever you get in, if you're a collector, and you say, well, they're just talking about Ukraine, and if Trump gets in, we'll talk about that. And okay. And then if you're a political person at the top, you can say, I want to put some sort of spin on that, saying that he is siding with the Russians over the Ukraine, and he's a bad, that type of thing. So I don't know what's going to happen here. They try to get rid of Sessions for something he didn't really do. Try to say that he's a bigot or that he perjured himself when he was just discussing. So it's not going to get any better, guys. I don't know what to tell you guys, really, to be honest. It's a very hard thing, and just my thoughts on this. So just if you have any comments, let me know. We could talk about it in the comments, and if you like this, just share it, and we'll talk again. Talk to you later. Bye.